Big round of applause for Natasha.
Hey guys, thank you so much for being here this morning. I'm extremely thankful to the Creative Mornings team for having me. Thank you. One of their team members, Bree, she actually reached out to me last year in September. So this has been a couple of months that we've been working on this. And she explained to me what the organization does. And I'm like, this is like a mini TED Talk. Like, let's go. Let's do this. I would love to talk about what I do. So I was extremely thankful. And then she also shared with me, so usually per month, there's a word that you speak to and you kind of tie into what you do. And so she shared with me the list of the words I could choose from. And so the word that I chose was perspective. And I'm like, say no more. Perspective is what my brand does, and changing people's point of view, especially in fashion, is something that I've been working on doing since last year. So my name again is Lady Natasha Fines, and I'm so grateful to be here. Let's start. Perspective. So a little refresher on the vocab term of perspective: a particular attitude toward or a way of regarding something, a point of view. So I'm going to share with you a couple of images of really something to kind of juggle your brain of. You're probably thinking something when you see this image, and then I want you to see what my perspective is and what my team's perspective is when we see some of these images. So the first image is of a wheelchair. And so when you thought of wheelchair, I'm thinking you maybe thought, someone that has a disability, they're probably not doing too many things. I'm sure nobody thought of, well, paddleboarding, horseback riding, modeling, prosthetics. Also, you're probably thinking, okay, someone with physical disability, can't really do much. Probably this did not cross your head, is that someone that is very, very active. They can rock climb, swim. This is a different perspective. So you see these girls, they're extremely beautiful inside and out, and you see they look healthy, they look great. What you don't know is they each have an invisible illness or an invisible disability. So for example, we have Bailey, she has colon cancer, or we have Addie and Rachel, and they both actually have juvenile arthritis. So something that you probably didn't think of, your point of view when you see the pictures earlier, like they're so cute, but they have things that they're working through inside with their illnesses. This image is of a runway. The first thing that we usually think of is a model, Victoria's Secret model, Gigi Hadid, all of those beautiful girls that we have looked up to. Something you probably didn't think of is, well, there's other girls too that can rock the runway. Beautiful girls, real girls, girls that have physical disabilities or invisible disabilities. Someone that's a one-arm amputee, model. Someone that has Down syndrome. Someone that's a double leg amputee, model as well. When we look at these mannequins at the mall, usually we're strolling through the mall and it's like basic mannequins we've seen our whole life. They have all the limbs, but they're really not representing, again, everybody in this world. It's just like one basic type. So you probably didn't think of, well, there's other cool mannequins as well that can represent girls that look like them. This is one of my favorites, a button. So when you look at a button, I'm sure the last thing you probably thought about a button was a long time ago. But when someone with a physical disability or an invisible disability, like these people, the button is something that they think about every single morning. It's an obstacle, and it's a mountain that they do not want to climb, especially by themselves, because it's not easy for them to put on clothes. So once we've seen those images, hopefully everyone is able to remember, okay, so disabled people do go out on dates, disabled people do work. Disabled people are people just like all of us. So they go to school, they drink, they go out with friends, they work out, they go fishing, they rock climb, paddleboard, dance, play sports, have job interviews, live by themselves. So the prevailing assumption is that individuals with disabilities spend their time at home, in the hospital, or at doctor's appointments. So when you think of people with disabilities, again, you think, okay, they're not really going out, doing much. So fashion designers and brands, they have created adaptive clothing for these people. But when you look at the market of what's available to them, it's more giving like medical wear or basics and neutrals. It's not really exciting. So someone with a disability, this is what they're able to choose from when it comes to fashion. It's not really exciting. As we know, when you look good, you feel good. Especially dopamine booster, really cool colors, has some bling on your clothes. It gives you that extra confidence. So when you think of adaptive clothing right now, these are really the words that stand out when you're looking online or you're going shopping. So comfortable, practical, seamless, easy, functional, disabled, medical, basic. None of that has me screaming, I'm ready to go shopping at all, or excited to go out on a date. I'm like dreading going to my closet. So there are 26% of Americans that live with a disability. That is about 61 million people. That is 15% of the global population. This is where I come in. So my background is I worked in the fashion industry. I was a fashion buyer. And part of my job was to do market research. So I was on Instagram, on Facebook, online, scrolling through, and this is what I would always see, which I'm sure is what we're all used to seeing. We love all of the actresses, very talented, very beautiful, but it's unrealistic of what the standard of beauty really is. I personally don't see many of my friends that I feel like are being represented here. Not only that, but there's a lot of Photoshop going as well, so like extra unrealistic. Right now, this is a really cool stat. There's 1% of the global population that fits the ideal look and body types of these models or actresses, which is what we see on these magazines. 1%. That means the other 99%, right, of the world is not being represented. So what I do is I'm the founder and designer of the Lady Finds adaptive clothing line. And these are my amazing group of girls who I can also call friends. They're our models. And they've been able to join us in our journey this past year since I've launched the brand. And it's been absolutely amazing to be able to see girls that are finally getting represented in the fashion industry. And so I have these clothes that I wanted to share with you guys. It's my first collection. And I also wanted to share with you what adaptive clothing is. So with our brand, Lady Finds, it's inclusive, there's empowerment, and there's independence. So what exactly is adaptive clothing, in case some of you aren't too familiar with that? So I'm going to share with you some examples. Let's say someone that's in a seated position, they need longer shorts or just longer length on the fabric because it's going to rise up. Not only that, but side zippers, so zippers on both sides and wider openings. Wide openings at the neck, the waist, and the limbs. So someone like Claire, where she has prosthetics, it's a little bit harder for her to get into her pants. So wider openings on the pants is a little bit easier for her to put on clothes. Not only that, but the pieces and the fabrics, it needs to be a little bit sturdier because when they have prosthetics, it's gonna, what is it called? Snag on your clothes and like the fabric's gonna break and it's just not it. And it lasts maybe a week for them, right? So wide openings, neck, waist, limbs. Button alternatives like magnets or hook and loop closures, which is Velcro as we know it. So that is, for example, cute top, fashion forward, you wouldn't know it's adaptive, but it's easier for someone like our beautiful models to put it on, so magnetic closures, it just snaps on there. Easy pull, drawstrings and zippers. So again, someone that's maybe seated or someone, for example, that has Down syndrome is what I've been learning. The waist. Waist is really important, comfort is really important, so stretchy material, whether you're seated or you're standing up, very important. Sensory-friendly material, so all of our pieces are tagless. At the back, I'm sure a lot of us even get very annoyed with the tags in the back, so everything is tagless, very important, and all of the fabrics are very soft and not itchy and comfortable. Chest port and central line access. This was actually a tracksuit that was designed in mind with my aunt. So she was part of my inspiration of why I started this. My aunt was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and she was always very fashion forward, but then when she was diagnosed with cancer, I noticed that she wouldn't dress the same, she wasn't as confident as she used to be. I would go with her to the hospital visits, and I would see that they were extremely invasive, where they're like kind of cutting up your clothes and trying to get access to your port or trying to draw blood. And when you're already going through something like that, and then having to figure out, well, what am I going to wear to the hospital, is the last thing you want to deal with. So this was actually designed in mind with my aunt. So here you can see there's zippers on both sides, easy access to the port, and then also here, easier access for IV, so like on the forearms. And most importantly, it's really cute. Ignoring the disability market is extremely bad business. When I worked in the fashion industry as a buyer, I would present this idea to the brands that I worked for. I worked for the Home Shopping Network. I worked for brands like Akira, really great brands, and they thought it was a really great idea, but it's not their customer. I understand, it's business. So I figured they're gonna be my customer because I feel like this is extremely important to just pass up. So I left my job. I had an amazing job in Chicago, living my best life in the city, and it was something that I couldn't rub off, and I'm like, I gotta do something about this. So I just recently launched last September. What I would present to those companies is that people with disabilities represent $21 billion of discretionary income, not including the purchasing power of friends, family, and advocates. That is more than the African American and Hispanic markets combined. So we have a video that we're going to share with you that includes our models, who are our customer, but most importantly, girls that are giving their story and why this is important to them. To me, the brand, when I started kind of working on how am I going to do this, no one's really doing this right now, I wanted to make sure that the brand is more than just a clothing brand. Kind of like what we see Forever 21 or Zara, we just see the models, they're just there. But when you go on our site, I wanted our models to be able to speak to their story. And it's not just clothes, it's more than that. So yeah, thank you.
There's a bunch of like rolling up that I have to do, which is kind of uncomfortable.
Trying to pull clothes on, sitting down is not a good thing. That is very hard.
Not having such a tight opening for the foot. Sometimes I can't even get pants on because it's so small.
Hi, my name is Lady Natasha Fines, and my clothing brand is Lady Fines, the Adaptive Clothing Line. My inspiration behind Lady Fines, the Adaptive Clothing Line, is the lack of representation and inclusivity for those with physical disabilities out in the fashion industry right now.
With Lady Fines, I really like especially the cargo pants where it has the zippers and like even on the sides of the skirts. It makes it easier, so if I'm changing in a bathroom or I'm changing somewhere other than my room, I don't have to sit on the floor to take my leg off to put a pant leg on.
So I think it would probably help the IV. And then sometimes, one time, my knee got blown up that they could have had to take a big needle and get all the fluid out. So this zipper would probably help to get the needle in and needle out.
I just like the message that it's sharing. I think that every individual should feel beautiful in what they wear and comfortable in what they wear, and clothing should always be more accessible and more inclusive. And I think there's a major gap in the fashion industry, and so I think she's doing an amazing job, breaking that stigma, breaking that gap, so I couldn't be more happy to be a part of it. You have to go through so much that trying to find clothes that are adapted to you isn't something that you should even have to worry about.
Yeah, so as you can see, thank you. Thank you. I think it's special hearing it from the girls that actually need the clothes. I know that, yes, I am the founder and the designer, but I really wanted you guys to hear it from them because I think it's different when it's something that they experience every single day. I also think it's important that maybe you don't know someone that has either a physical disability or an invisible disability. I hope people just start realizing you can still be an advocate and you could still be aware and look at it a different point of view when it comes to fashion. I did have my aunt, but even before her diagnosis happened, my brain had already been turning in this community. So with that being said, the images that I shared with you at the beginning, I hope that as you go throughout your day and the rest of the year and throughout your life, you can see a different perspective when you look at something like a wheelchair, button, or prosthetics or mannequins, and that there's just a bigger community out there that really needs more advocates to help make a difference, especially in the fashion industry that's not easy to break into. So I think that is it. And I'll end with, again, perspective is a particular attitude toward or a way of regarding something, a point of view. I did want to kind of pass out the pieces so you guys can feel it and touch it. And if you guys have any questions as I'm passing out the pieces, please ask away. So I'm going to share some of these with you. Does anybody have any questions?
Yes.
Yes.
Really echoing here.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Natasha.
no problem.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes,
No problem.
give a hand.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
That's amazing work that you're doing as well.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Actually, I have a question. We're going to
Yeah.
kick off our Q&A real fast, and I have a question. So you obviously did a lot and put a lot of thought into what it is that would be needed.
Mm-hmm.
So who did you speak to? I know that you said your aunt, right, was your inspiration,
Yeah.
but wheelchair, amputee.
Yeah.
So who did you talk to and where did you go?
Yeah, so I 100% stalked a bunch of girls online, and I would like DM them, and I would ask them, hey, if you have free time, can we jump on a Google Meet? Can we jump on a Zoom? I would love to better understand your obstacles when it comes to how you get dressed. So I started off with that as 100% stalking girls on Instagram, and then little by little I would gain more confidence of like, okay, I think what I'm doing makes sense and needs to be done, so let's take this more seriously. So I would start going out to, I think it's orthopedics, is it, for prosthetics? Yeah, those places. And I would speak to doctors and specialists really within that community, and they've been amazing, and they've helped me better understand what's needed as I work on the second collection.
Anybody else? Questions? I'm coming around with a mic.
How do you handle production of these pieces? Are they all custom?
Good question. Yeah, so I actually just got back from China a couple hours ago. The struggle is real. I don't know how I'm even standing up here. But yeah, so we have a manufacturing team overseas. And so I design the clothes, and then I let them know everything that we need. I actually was just there picking out new fabrics and accessories, and especially the accessible features are the most important. So that's the zippers, Velcros, magnets. And so they create the bulk production.
Your pieces are beautiful, by the way.
Thank you.
What would you consider to be the greatest obstacle to seeing more of these types of clothings in like your Targets and your department stores?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the challenge there?
Yeah, that's the struggle every day of my life. So there's a couple. The first thing, honestly, is perspective, is when I speak to the retail buyers of the different companies or managers and things like that. It's really, how do I make them see that there's a bigger customer than just who their average customer is? So that's the first thing, point of view. And the second thing is cost. That's a really big issue, is that because there are additional features on the pieces, and we have to make sure it's good quality. When you touch the pieces, it's not Forever 21 or like Shein, it's good quality. And so with that being said, though, the material is a little bit more expensive, and then again, additional Velcro magnets, things like that. So that is an obstacle. And then to me personally, I had kind of struggled with the confidence of, I'm not someone with a physical disability, so how do I sell this to that community? But as you can see with some of our girls, little by little, we've created this community that they're like, oh my gosh, like, thank you for doing this. And I figured if I have the tools in my toolbox, why not use it, especially with the fashion industry that I have experience in. So that's a couple of obstacles. Yeah.
Hi.
Hey.
This is so needed. I
Thank
have a
you.
brother with a disability, and it's
Oh,
just
wow.
like the texture of the fabric makes such a difference.
Thank you.
But I just wanted to ask, do you feel like you have competitors in this market? Like, are there any kind of other brands doing this?
So currently, this vibe, as the girls like to call my aesthetic, like the Betsy Johnson of adaptive clothing. So thankfully-ish for the business, it's kind of a space that no one has touched yet because people have either A, been scared, or they're just not educated in it, or so many people are just like, they don't realize that this is a big community, that it's a big need. So to be honest, right now, I wouldn't say I have a competitor in this space. There are some brands, big brands like Tommy Hilfiger, Victoria's Secret, recently that have dove into this space. I will be honest, this brand was created fully in mind with those that have a disability. Those brands, I feel like it's more of like, this is a moment for them, you know? So yeah, I mean, I can't wait for more designers like myself to come up and to just be more of this, so yeah.
Thank you so much for coming. This was incredible.
Thank you.
My question, do you have a specific aspiration with your brand, or are you just kind of seeing what happens, or do you have a goal in mind?
So initially, last year, it was like, let's see what's gonna happen, and like, I hope people care about because I'm just so passionate about this, and you know when sometimes it's like, you have it in your heart, but if you speak it out loud, like, will there be crickets? And there hasn't been crickets. It's been, these girls are all like, everyone's messaging me like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. So now my aspirations have changed from last year, and I'm like going full force. So to be honest, I see, this is little so far, but from the feedback we've received and the passion that I have an amazing team. Maida's one of my team members here. I just feel like we're all little Avengers and the girls, and I see us being like the Forever 21 of adaptive clothing. I have so many plans and things that I'm already working on other than clothes that I want to expand and really go hard. So big aspirations.
I just had a question because I saw you have a foundation, and if you could speak to like how the donations work and how you get that word out and things like that.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for asking that. That's a big one I should have mentioned earlier. So not only do we have the for-profit, so it's Lady Finds Adaptive Fashion, but we also have our nonprofit, which I also launched at the same time. That was crazy on my end because I'm a new business owner, but it's like, let's do this. So the nonprofit is married to the for-profit. It's Rebels with the Cause Foundation. And so what we do, one of our main things that it's a huge need actually is providing adaptive clothing. Because those in the community that have physical disabilities, it's already expensive enough for them with all of their medical needs and things like that. So I've gotten a lot of messages asking, can you donate clothes to my sister or daughter, things like that. So it's first and foremost is donations to clothes. That's where your donations would go to, is us sending them our apparel pieces. Not only that, but it's also altering. So someone that maybe has a one-arm amputee or things like that, we are able to alter our pieces to them, customize it. Another thing is raising awareness. So doing like things like this today, it's going out to schools, going out to different organizations, and really speaking and educating people, because I've noticed that I've been talking about this forever, but some people don't think about this. So yeah, thank you for asking.
I have one. Hi, thank you for doing this.
Yes, of course.
I have a two-part question.
Okay.
So the first part is, what would you say, who are your biggest fashion inspirations? And second part is, can we expect a fashion show with your models coming up?
Yeah. So my biggest inspirations in fashion, I've always loved fashion my whole life. So I love Betsy Johnson, to be on, like that's, I think you could feel it a little bit. Betsy Johnson, Alexander McQueen, he has a lot of bling, things like that. And then as for fashion shows, so we actually were super blessed to do 2 fashion shows in Tampa. So last year we did Tampa Bay Fashion Week. And then just, I think it was like 2 weeks ago, we have Fatima there. She's in charge of the Tampa Connect Fashion Week that was amazing and very inclusive and really represented all of those in the community that I feel like aren't as represented usually. And then big news is we're actually doing New York Fashion Week in September. We've been invited to do that. Yeah, I'm excited. So a lot of big things, little by little. Yeah.
I have one more question as well.
Yeah.
Is it mainly Tampa Bay that you can find any of your clothing pieces? Is it online again, or?
Yeah, so it is online, and we just recently, with Maida's help, we are worldwide, so that's awesome. And then one day I would love to have even a small boutique and have really cool inclusive mannequins at the front and just something that we haven't seen before. But yes, online, ladyfinds.com. Yeah. Bless you.
Any other questions that we got? Thank you so much for sharing your
thank
perspective
you.
with us.
Thank
Yes,
you.
give it up.
Thank you.